What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Real Fan Sports. I'm here with Nonfixion. What's good with you, Non?
What's good? What's good, man? Glad to be back. Glad to be back.
Yes, sir. So we just wrapped up week 5 in the NFL. Time for week 6. And
Yes,
we're
sir.
starting off with the best game ever, right, Non?
The best.
Wow. I can't wait to be live for this
AFC
Thursday.
Anger.
Denver Broncos versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs probably going to be without Travis Kelce, but does it really matter against this Broncos team that's currently 1-4?
No. They shouldn't have any wins. They shouldn't have beat Chicago. We all know that. That was bad defensive scheming towards the latter part of that game. I'm not even talking about it. Chiefs win.
You know, I like that idea. Chiefs win, keep it pushing. Next up, we're going to have Ravens and Titans, which, you know, initially I want to just go ahead and say Ravens all the way, but my goodness, I don't know what's wrong with this Ravens team. I don't know how you lose like they did last week. I thought that this was the time to go ahead and capitalize on things that you got going on. And then the same for the Titans. So what do we think about this in London at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium?
First of all, the Ravens, that was the worst display of football I ever seen on a Sunday. There was three touchdowns dropped, 2 massive 40-yard gains dropped. Like Lamar Jackson tried to do a lot that game, and nobody.
I didn't get to watch the game, and that's what I heard too. So
there was 3 end zone touchdowns dropped. There was 2. Like one was a 30-yard bomb to progress the ball, dropped by Zay Flowers. The other one was dropped by the other receiver. I forgot his name. I'm not thinking his name. Hopkins. I forgot the other guy's name. But
yeah,
they just look bad. They look bad all around. Like to the point where anybody talking about Super Bowl, keep it quiet.
Keep it quiet.
Just win a game. Just win a game.
In this matchup, I feel like I know where you're going to go with it just because what you say every week and how you just don't like the quarterback over there with the Titans. So I'm assuming you're picking Ravens?
I'm still going to pick Ravens, though.
Okay. All that trash, I'm still going to rock with the Ravens. I'm going to go Ravens, too. Like, every time I get some hope about the Titans, they just disappoint me again. I mean, Anthony Richardson got hurt in the game. They went up against a backup for the Colts. They allowed Zach Moss to run all over them. And I'll tell you what, I don't care that J.K. Dobbins is out for the season. Let Edwards and Hill do their thing. Let Lamar do his thing. They should win this game pretty easily. All right, so that's going to bring us up into our noon games between the Washington Commanders and the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons were able to get a big win over the Texans, 21-19. But a lot of people are starting to think the Falcons are starting to rely a little too much on the run and that it's starting to hurt them as teams are starting to game plan for their one-dimensional style offense. Mm-hmm. The question is, will the Falcons be able to continually play one-dimensional against this Commanders team who has struggled last week against the run primarily?
That's a really good question. I think Atlanta's still going to push the run game. That's just it's what their bread and butter is going to be this entire season. And I mean, Bijan still has been up to the challenge. He's up to the challenge as a rookie. I do feel that this game is going to come down to the wire, though. And I think I'm going to say Commanders are going to pull it out at the very end.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and rock with the Falcons, man. I think the Commanders I can't believe it, right?
Please take notes, you guys.
Hell is frozen over. No, I'm going to rock with the Falcons just because, I mean, the Commanders had a clinic put on them last Thursday against the Bears. And the Falcons getting a tough win against Houston, I think they'll come back and have a really good game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. So I'm going to rock with the Falcons on this one.
Cool.
Next up, we're going to have the Vikings and the Bears, who play phenomenal. About time. I mean, really, back-to-back pretty good weeks. I mean, against lesser opponents, but had played some pretty good football, finally getting off the loss column and grabbing a win against the Commanders versus the Vikings, who are struggling. They started off the game with an interception. I had them as my upset of the week, and I couldn't have been more wrong. What do we think about this game with Vikings possibly, or more than likely, not having Justin Jefferson there?
Yeah, I mean, with him, without him, that's just a big knock on that team and the morale of that team because he's a big part of that. How everything progresses with that team. Chicago should be two. They should have 2 wins and not shouldn't have 4 losses. I'm going to go with Chicago. I think Chicago, if they continue the game plan they've been playing the last 2 weeks, not the previous weeks, the last 2 weeks, they're a really good team because they play. It's an all around offense, all around defense, great effort on all phases. They play like last week. Chicago got this win easy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just glad we're finally seeing this Bears team that a lot of people were hyped up at the beginning of the year and hoping we were going to see. It took them a long, tough road to get through, but they're here right now, and I would like to see them stick with it. If Justin Jefferson was there, I'd probably say Vikings, but I think he's just such a crutch for Kirk Cousins, and without him, it's going to have a very negative effect. Madison just is not being the running back they thought he'd be, so I'm going to go with Bears as well.
It just sucks. It does suck because this is the last. This might be the last season we see Kirk Cousins as the Vikings. He's going to go out on a bad note, and also with the Bears, RIP to Dick Buckus, man.
Yes. Rest in peace to the legend, man. Next up, that's going to be the Seahawks and the Bengals. Seahawks 3-1, Bengals 2-3. Joe Burrow finally had a game. It only took the whole season for him to look normal. I don't know what changed because he was banged up the game before and almost didn't play this game. Like a lot of people thought he was going to sit out last week, but he came in and he was on point. Jamar Chase put on a clinic. Can the Bengals do a repeat against Seahawks? They will be at home. What do you think?
I have no idea because I didn't get a chance to watch the Bengals game. I told you about my indecision of keeping them in my fantasy. Got rid of them because I was scared. But if the Bengals continue on the path that they just started, I won't say it will be an easy game, but I believe they should win the game. It won't be easy, but I think they should win.
Yeah, so man. I feel like I'm going Bengals as well. I think they finally have woken up to the occasion, and I feel like they're finally ready to play some good football. We have to see it in consecutive weeks. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Consistency in the NFL is the big time goal for any team. Bengals have been the exact opposite of that. Let's see if they can bring in 2 good wins straight. And I mean good. Like I want to see them go out and play. I'm a rock with Bengals as well.
Okay.
Next up, we're going to have the 49ers and the Browns. The San Francisco 49ers, one of 2 5-0 teams in the league right now, defeating the Dallas Cowboys and that stout defense. Micah Parsons only got 1 quarterback hurry or pressure the whole entire game, which is insane. They brought in their backups. They were cheering to bring Trey Lance out. And they're going up against the Browns team. What do we think about this?
I do feel the Niners can win this game. I think it'll be interesting to see what the Browns defense does because they have a really good defense. If Deshaun Watson all of a sudden feels like, okay, some actual competition, maybe he'll play differently because there's been games where he looks pretty reminiscent of the past Deshaun in the past couple games before the bye. I do feel the Niners will win this, especially with McCaffrey, but if that defense shows up, it's going to be interesting.
I mean, I thought last week was going to be the test, the first true defensive test the 49ers were going to face, and they just shut that thing down before the game even started. I'm still waiting for someone to make the 49ers not look amazing. That's really what I'm looking at right now because at this point, I can't see anyone in the league beating this team. They are just so complete. They do everything right. They take away the big players. It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to deal with Myles Garrett, how they're going to be able to control him and his pressure. If Brock Purdy continues to have space in that pocket and is able to make the game of football look so easy, which the 49ers have done so well for several years, there's no doubt in my mind. I can't pick anyone against the Niners until someone proves that they have a weak spot because I haven't seen one yet.
I agree. I still think Niners got what it takes to just go and be undefeated. It'll be interesting, though.
Next up, we're going to have the Carolina Panthers versus the Miami Dolphins. Panthers, the 0-5 team in the league versus the Dolphins, who are 4-1. What do we think about this game? I mean, I feel like it's an easy one, but
I mean, it's an easy one. Can we see another 70 points?
I mean, I don't know if we'd see 2 games like that in one season, it'd be crazy. Panthers just they're in a true rebuild, man. Everybody had high hopes for Bryce Young, and it's just he's still a rookie. Everyone has to understand that. Stroud has been looking levels above any rookie quarterback that we've seen in a while, and you can't compare the two. But right now, Panthers they stink. They have no run game. They have no game throwing the ball. Defense hasn't been there because they've been stuck on the field so long. Dolphins win this easily.
Definitely think I predicted this, but got a lot of flack. Dolphins for a dub.
Dolphins for a dub. Next up is going to be between the Indianapolis Colts and the Jaguars. Anthony Richardson, I'm not sure what his status is for this game.
Shoulder, he's out.
He's out? Okay. So Anthony Richardson will be out for this game, Colts versus Jaguars. Jaguars coming off of a big win in London, finally getting back to the States after being out that way for 2 weeks. I know I saw on a podcast the other day how people were like, the worst part about playing in London is the breakfast. Who eats beans with breakfast? I was like, that's horrible. What do we think of this game? Both 3-2.
I do like Garden with the Colts offense. I do like that. And Zach Moss showed up and showed the hell out. He balled. Now, as far as how they're going to use him next week, they're still going to use him, just not how in depth. I don't know. But I do believe Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars will pull this out even towards the end of the game.
Yeah, I think I have Jaguars winning this one. But like you said, I think it's going to stay pretty close for the most part. I don't expect a blowout. You know, a lot of these games with the Colts I thought were going to be blowouts at the beginning of the year, but they've been holding in. I mean, they're sitting at a 3-2 record, which is great for them. I don't even know if they expected it. They did re-sign Jonathan Taylor to a huge $42 million contract, so that's big. We'll see how things go with him as he gets amped up into regular play. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and go with the Jags as well. Next up at NRG Stadium, we have the New Orleans Saints versus the Houston Texans. Texans coming just short against the New Orleans Saints rival Atlanta Falcons. They lost by 2 points. Saints were able to pull out a win that I don't think any of us seen coming. We knew they had the potential to do it, but have not given us a reason to actually make it happen. Offensively, defensively, it all looked good for the first time this season. Can they make that happen 2 times in a row against the Texans? That's the question.
The question is, can Carmichael stay creative in the play calling? If he stays creative, then yes, I think they can. If he goes back to his old stale, old toast ways, then no, it's too predictable. But when it's creative and they're throwing at something that's a little different than normal, this team looks different. They look different. They look happier to be playing, to be honest, too. And plus, Zach cannot watch the games anymore. Just let you guys know that. But it will be an interesting game because, like you said, C.J. Stroud has been playing really well. He still hasn't thrown an interception. He hasn't thrown an interception yet.
It's crazy.
So that's impressive with 7 TDs or over 1,400 yards on the season so far. I would like to say I expect the Saints to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans did pull this out somehow.
Yeah. I mean, the Texans team has been something that's been really fun to watch. Losing Tank Dell, who's got out for a concussion last week, hopefully will be able to play this week, is definitely a down point for this game coming up if he's not able to suit up. And like you said with the Saints, I mean, those that don't keep up with Saints football, Pete Carmichael at the end of week 4 was basically told, you're on the hot seat. If you don't come out and coach one hell of a game, you probably won't be here much longer. And he felt that pressure on his job, and he's started some great play calling. The one thing that a lot of people won't see is that AK is actually taking a more vocal leadership role in this team, which is something that he hasn't done before. He's always been a quiet leader, led by his actions and how he plays on the field, but he's being more vocal with the coaches, giving them ideas of some things that he sees while he's playing. Oh, you should run this to here. He's holding other players accountable. He said at the end of the game, he said, we won it, 34-0, whatever the score was. But he said, Olave owes me a touchdown because he missed one. Mike owes me one because he missed a catch. He's like, he called out a couple defensive players. He's like, Cam Jordan owes me a sack that he missed. And he is single-handedly holding this team accountable, which we haven't seen something like that since the great Drew Brees retired and left the Saints. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Saints. And like Nan said, I can't watch because I wasn't able to watch the first half last week and they went crazy. So I might have to listen to a radio show or something. Next up is going to be the Patriots and Raiders at 3:00. Patriots with the big loss like we just spoke of, and then the Raiders grabbing a ugly win against the Green Bay Packers on Monday night, but a win's a win. We still have questions about Josh McDaniels, but do we trust him enough to get a win against his former team?
If McDaniels doesn't come out creative against his former team, just kick him off. Just don't even let him back on the plane. Like, well, he's there home, so send him on a plane back to New England. Because of how New England has been looking the last couple of weeks, the Raiders should win this. Just based on how they've been looking. They've been looking terrible. This is, I think, the worst Belichick has started the season in quite a long time. Belichick's play calling has not looked good. McDaniels' play calling hasn't looked great. There's a lot of questionable calls by McDaniels, but I do expect the Raiders to win.
So are you trying to tell me that the New England way wasn't the New England way, but it was the Tom Brady way? Is that what you're telling me?
Everybody's on that conversation right now. I'm not saying anything. I think it's a combination of both of them together. Can't do it one without the other. Can't do it.
Right, that's fair. That's fair. I'll give you that. I'm gonna go Raiders. All right, we have another division rivalry game between the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams. Cardinals have had some games that have looked better than what we expected. It's seeming more and more likely they're never going to bring back Kyler Murray as the talks kind of ramp up. They haven't had a true saying on what's going to happen, but it just seems like they're going to roll with Dobbs. Dobbs has been putting on a decent showing, even with a 1-4 record. He's looked pretty nice. The Rams sitting at 2-3 right now. Finally got Cooper Kupp back, even though they did lose this past week. What do we think about this matchup?
I know before we kind of played ourselves on how we chose to kind of go against the Rams, and the Rams have looked a lot better than what we assumed they would look like. And with Kupp coming back, that's a big boost of morale for the team. Even though I do like how Joshua Dobbs has looked throughout this season, even though they only have a 1-4 record. And I'm gonna say the Rams. I'm gonna go with the Rams. I think Kupp and Puka gonna have great games.
Yeah, I love the fact that they are finding ways to get the ball involved to both Puka and Cooper. That has been something that's been exciting to watch because we know how things were with Cooper Kupp in his big year a couple of years ago, where he was just the main target throughout the whole time. Yeah. And now that Stafford feels comfortable throwing to 2 different receivers, it should open that playbook up a bit. I'm gonna go Rams. I think both these teams are still struggling, and it's not gonna be a pretty one, but I'm gonna go Rams in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Next up, we're gonna have Eagles versus Jets. 5-0 versus 2-3. Jets had a great game against the Denver Broncos. Daniel Hackett wanted to really stick it to Sean Payton, and that he did with a great offensive showing. They finally have allowed Breece Hall to get off his leash and are letting him run loose, and he had one hell of a game. Do we think the Jets can muster up something and make this game interesting against the Eagles, or do we think the Eagles walk away with it?
I think the Jets defense can. The young, very opportunistic defense can step it up and make moves to put a little pressure on Jalen Hurts. So I think they're going to win though. That kind of sits on the shoulders of Zach Wilson. And that's a scared place to put your hopes in, because sometimes he doesn't make the right decisions. I'm going to pick the Eagles, but it will be great to see how this game comes down to the wire and the Jets pull it out by a field goal.
That'd be something nuts.
That'd be crazy. Yeah.
No, I mean, the Eagles are by far the more dominant team, but with bringing in Breece Hall, I think it makes some things interesting. I really hope they will continue in that trajectory, just utilizing him as much as possible. But the problem comes in is that the Eagles have one of the better run defenses in the league. So I think they will have trouble, even if they give Breece Hall his 22 carries like they did last week. He won't be getting 177 yards against this Eagles team. That's just not happening. So I'm rocking with the Eagles as well. Next up is going to be Lions versus Buccaneers. Both teams doing very good this season. Lions are 4-1. Bucs are 3-1, coming off of a bye week. What do we think?
When we talked about the fact that TB12 is not there anymore, and Baker Mayfield, who's a traveling man, been on several teams, but the one thing that we all forgot to talk about is the fact that this Buccaneers defense is still the kind of the same what they had last year, and was actually pretty decent. They weren't bums; they're actually pretty good at stopping the run and holding down some receivers. So I'm not, I think I'm gonna probably pick. I'm gonna say the Bucks pull this one out.
Okay. All right. All right.
Just,
I can't
yeah.
pick two division rivals to well, I don't even consider the Bucks a division rival, but division teams to win in 1 week, so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go with the Lions. But yeah, you do have some good points. The Bucks defense did lose a lot of players during the offseason, but a lot of guys have stepped up, and they still hold a lot of their main core pieces that has made the job easy. And Baker Mayfield has actually looked really good. I mean, Mike Evans
really
on the
good.
last
Yeah.
year of his contract, probably leaving after this year. At least that was the rumors at the beginning of the season. But the way they're playing, maybe he might contemplate a change.
Yeah.
So that'll
Maybe.
definitely be interesting as things go through. I think they still lack a true run game, and that's something that's going to hurt them. Rashad White, I just don't think is the answer. And that's another factor as to why I'm going to go with Lions, just because I don't think that Buck offense does enough for me yet. So I'm going to go with Lions.
Understandable. But I mean, they 3-1, so they've done enough so far.
Very true. All right, finally, that's going to bring us up to our Sunday night game between the New York Giants and the Buffalo Bills. The New York Giants might be the worst team in the NFL right now.
That's tough, bro.
That offensive line is horrible. That defense is horrible. Their wide receivers are not good. They get Saquon Barkley back this week, we're assuming. But does it make a difference to make this team look better than how they've been playing?
I mean, watching their head coach, was it Dable?
Yeah, the ball.
He was in an interview, and he looked depressed. He looked sad. He looked really, and you kind of feel for him because it sucks the position that they're in because they just look so bad. They look so bad at times. And Jones, even though he's not the greatest, sometimes he looks good and sometimes he looks really
horrible.
bad.
You could tell it's starting to weigh on Jones. Like all that pressure that's coming to him is starting to weigh, because when he does have opportunities, he chokes them, and that's what we saw a lot of last week. And that's and that's what that was the disappointing thing about last game. It's like even when they had opportunities to score touchdowns and put up some points, he would make the mistakes and throw an interception or fumble the ball or just throw a bad pass. And there's just nothing good going on with the Giants right now. And I feel for DeBall, because DeBall was a guy that was in the Coach of the Year running last year with what he was doing, and then to come out this season and just look as poor, especially with having so many backups in at the offensive line. And then you got the Bills, who are coming off an upsetting loss against the Jags. They're coming back trying to get another win, get back on the positive. I got Bills in this one easily.
Yeah, I got Bills too. I mean, the fact that Jones is the number one rusher for the team, that just says a lot, and you're the quarterback. That's not good.
It's not good.
Especially when you're not a runner.
Right. All right, so finally, that's going to bring up to our last game of the week, which we will be live for here on Real Fan Sports. And this one should be a good one. I'm actually pretty excited about this one. It's going to be the Dallas Cowboys versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Dallas Cowboys sitting at 3-2. Their only losses coming to the Niners and then the Cardinals. I have to make fun of the Cowboys any chance I can.
Weird.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
And then the Chargers, who are sitting at 2-2 right now, coming off of a bye week, feeling well rested. Justin Herbert's been looking really good this season so far. 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns, just 1 interception. Keenan Allen still, knock on wood, injury free, playing really well. 35 receptions, 434 yards, 3 touchdowns. What do we think about this game?
I really don't know. Because before, a couple weeks back, I'd be like, "Oh, easy, Dallas." They have good defense, actually a fairly, competent offense.
Very good.
Sometimes the issue is with the QB, as we've seen, but now, after how pedestrian they looked this weekend, I kind of want to just go with the Chargers, just because it just feels right.
I feel like the loss last week, it was a demoralizing loss for the Cowboys. And because it's one of those where there was so much hype built up around a game that was supposed to be what we deemed to be possibly the best game all season, and
Yeah.
they had backups come in with 11 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
They never got they never got out the rinks. I mean, San Francisco just proved why they're one of the best teams in the league, if not the best team in the league. To me, I don't even think it's arguable because of just how dominant they are against anybody they could face. I'm kind of with you, man. I really think I'm gonna go with Chargers on this one. It might be a risky call on that, but I just feel like the Chargers have the better chance at winning against this Cowboys team that are gonna still be a little butthurt over last week's game.
I mean, I 100% agree. It's weird because before the Niners game, there's videos of the fans at the games of like the Cardinals calling for the Niners, and you lose at the Cardinals. You blow out the Patriots, of course, because the defense shows up, but then you go to Santa Clara and lose 42-10. Like, you don't know what you're going to get from this team. You have no idea.
Yeah,
with all that talent, you have no idea, and that's a shame.
That's the upsetting thing. It is all that talent. You break down their defense; they have skill makers at every position. You look at the offense; they have skill players at every position. I mean, you have CD Lamb, you have Tony Pollard. You know, as much crap as we talk about Dak, it's he just doesn't go out there and win games, but he's still a talented and skillful quarterback. You know, you got your tight end and Ferguson. You got Brandon Cooks. You have Michael Gallup. Like, you have all these names where it's like this team, this really should be the Cowboys of the 90s. Like I see why people got hyped about it in the beginning of the year, and then they just fall short. It's rough.
And
it's
you
rough.
just lose Van Der Esch for 4 to 6 weeks too. That's not good.
Not good at all. So, yeah, Chargers. So
Chargers.
Make sure y'all let us know down in the comments below what you think we got wrong, what you think we got right. Stand up for your team and give us your best. I want y'all cussing us out, being like, my team is not losing this week.
Please give us comments.
But regardless, we'll see y'all live on Wednesday for WNBA Finals if y'all are into that. Live on Thursday and Mondays, always for primetime NFL football. Make sure y'all swing by, come say what's up, and root for your squad. Catch y'all then.
Yes, sir. Peace out.